I can't make this video. There's too many hot potatoes. There's too many trigger warnings. I can't do it. Alright, look at this, man. I've had a correspondence with a commercial airline pilot. He's been a commercial airline pilot for many decades. He's also an amateur diver. He goes by the name of Happy Travels. That's all I know him from, Happy Travels. He had a long correspondence about luxury watches. I want to share some of his wisdom, his expertise with you. And he says some, you know what I love about this correspondence? It was a real privilege to talk with someone who's not only deeply experienced with watches, but is very candid about the situation. In fact, I'm going to title this video, "What Nobody in the Watch Hobby is Willing to Admit," based on a quote from his correspondence. We are not willing to admit this. We've got to admit it, and trigger warning, it's going to be a hot potato. People will be offended. I don't even know if I can do this video, number one. Number two, I don't even know if I can complete it in one part. It might have to be two parts. But, so I had this correspondence with him, and the first thing I found out is he has a lot of nice luxury pieces, but he rarely wears them. He said to me, if I'm, number one, he said, if I'm going in salt water, or the cockpit these days, if I'm flying in the cockpit, there's no way I'm wearing one of my you know, Omega Speedmasters or Planet Oceans. There's just no way. That's what a beater watch is for. In fact, one of his favorite beater watches is the G-Shock GW5000. That's the one that's made of metal. It's a beloved watch in the G-Shock community. I like it. It's not sapphire though. If it was sapphire, I'd be tempted to get one. And I think there are all steel versions where there's a steel bracelet. But he says, you know, after a lot of experience, he says, I will not wear my luxury watches in salt water. I'm one of those guys that you talk about. You know, one of those golems. I just sit around the house and I stare at my wrist art. And he goes on to say, actually my watches rarely leave the watch box. They are scratchless and pristine, just the way I like them. And so, you know, I agree with him. I think I have that sensibility. I don't know if I'm ever going to get a luxury piece for a couple of reasons. One, my public appearances are getting the mail and dragging the trash cans on Wednesday from the curb. Not sure I'm going to wear my Tudor Black Bay for those functions. And number two was the pleasure of owning a Tudor Black Bay, and I really loved wearing Lee's and his Planet Ocean. I think I even like the Planet Ocean more, but there are anxiety factors that come with having something like that. But no, I agree with him. You know, when I think of an airline pilot, here's a dude who's a pilot. He's wearing either a G-Shock or an Apple smartwatch. He's not wearing, you know, the Breitling, the Omega, the Rolex in the cockpit. So, this is the words of Happy Travels, the airline pilot. I know most people would say I'm crazy. I'm a commercial pilot and a recreational diver. I would never wear my nice pilot watches in the cockpit, tight spaces with metal everywhere, tear up watches. And digitals are more useful anyway. This is from someone who really lives in that environment. And like you, I would never take my Planet Ocean diving in salt water. That's what beaters, G-Shocks, are for. You know, you could do a whole channel just on G-Shocks. I'm sure they exist out there because, you know, it's a functional watch. It's a different type of a watch hobby, and that's okay. I mean, I'm not going to read all this, but he goes on talking about how he wore a Chase Durair Pilot Commander for 10 years. It got beat. It got beat up, and now he's really enjoying his G-Shock GW5000 and his Apple watch these days. And he goes on to say that most of the pilots that he hangs out with, they're wearing the cheap digitals too. They're not wearing the Breitling Aerospace and the Rolex GMTs and the subs and everything else. They're wearing cheap digitals, finesse fitness watches, and so on. So this is from someone. I mean, when I think of an airline pilot, I think of a dude wearing a Rolex or something. But he really did challenge my assumptions with this correspondence. Does he ever wear his luxury watches? He writes to me on rare occasions, seldomly, going out for dinner with my wife. I'll do that. Relaxing at the end of the day around the house for 2 hours. Then I'll put it back in the box, goes right back in the box. I will only wear my luxury pieces in a controlled environment where I'm confident I can minimize risk of damage. Sounds like me. Sounds like me. I mean, I'm spending $3,500 on a Tudor Black Bay. And by the way, my partner in crime in the watch obsession here in LA, Carlos, before I even got my loaner of a Tudor, he had just sent me a photograph of 2 Tudors. He bought 2 Tudor Black Bays in one day. They all steel and the black bezel one. And then a week ago he texted me, he goes, I think I'm going to sell the black bezel one. I go, well, I might have to buy it. Haven't heard from him. I think he's keeping both. And by the way, I don't blame him. Carlos, if you're watching this, if you're keeping both, cool. Don't blame you, man. Those are such cool timepieces. And the stainless and the black bezel, they have different vibes. I was all in on the stainless, but then when I got the GMT from Lee, seeing color on the bezel and seeing the wrist presence that created, you know, this was a black bezel here on this Tuna. The wrist presence was such that I'm actually, when I imagine myself buying and wearing a Tudor Black Bay, I see myself wearing the black bezel version. Go figure. My friend Rafi at Watch City, we were talking about the red bezel when he goes, oh Jeff, with the red one you'll love it in the beginning and you'll grow bored. Get the black. And I think I agree with Rafi. So anyways, the Happy Travel, is this turning into a ramble? I told you can't make this video, McMahon. You started rambling. You're off topic. Get back. All right, here we go. So he only wears, Happy Travels only wears his luxury watches in very controlled environments. Now we get to my very favorite correspondence with Happy Travels. The Happy Traveler, this is it, man. This is the truth that very few of us will admit in the watch community. Making all these fancy pants videos. Hey, man. This is what he says, man. You need to accept your watch obsession for what it really is. The pursuit of non-essential jewelry. Hey, man, I'm with you, dude. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. In fact, let's repeat that. Let's let that sink in, because so few of us are willing to admit this. Let's repeat that. Your watch hobby is the pursuit of non-essential jewelry. I mean, Happy Travels agrees with me. You're diseased, you're addicted, you're unhinged. We all are. Your brain has been so hijacked, you're actually willing to spend $5,000, $6,000 on a piece of wrist art, and he agrees with me that these luxury timepieces are wrist art, a piece of wrist art that you may wear 8 times a year. And then, when you're not wearing it, behold it like Gollum, the precious, in your watch box. There's no logic to it. There's no Darwinian survival thing. And most of us, we're so diseased, I don't even think it's a status symbol for us. I think we genuinely appreciate the aesthetic, the detail, and so on. In fact, you know, having this correspondence with this airline pilot, having correspondence with Lee over in Santa Fe, New Mexico, these are not people dependent on image or status symbols. No, I'm convinced, or if I talk to Bruce Williams or Rob at the Random Rob channel, these are people who are genuinely smitten by the build quality, the detail, and we're done, man. Our brains have been hijacked. This is beyond status symbols. And so this, you got to admit this, man. So you are buying luxury timepieces as wrist art. You're an art collector. And this is the pursuit of non-essential jewelry. In the words of Happy Travels, well, I know I'm a rare breed in this hobby and must just laugh at how silly my outlook is. I fully admit it's strange. With my outlook, I should not own expensive watches at all. In the end, nobody in the hobby is willing to admit that luxury watches are non-essential pieces of jewelry these days. I'm okay with it. I fully admit it. I spent a lot of money on obsolete, fancy wrist art. God bless you, bro. You're honest, man. I'm honest. If I was to talk to Carlos about it, I'm sure he'd be honest about it too. Carlos doesn't need all these watches for status. He doesn't need that. We're in it because we're smitten by the watch itself. Just like someone's smitten by art. So, I think there's a place in our watch collection for the $800, $1,200 watch, because there you're getting a sweet spot. It's not so expensive that you have to hide it in your box all the time, but there's enough attention to quality and detail that it's a nice sweet spot. So when I got Lee's his Tudor Black Bay and his Planet Ocean, I could see how vastly superior they were. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, I got more. I'm gonna have to do another video on this. I'm running out of time. Tell me what you think. Are you smitten? Is it wrist art? Let me know. Until next time, I'm out.